Welcome to Women's Sports Weekly, where women's sports happen every day, but we talk about it once a week. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Carolyn. Women's Sports Weekly is a podcast where we discuss the latest news, explore interesting stories, and share our love for women's sports. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at WomensSportsWeeklyPod. Follow us and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Send us an email at WomensSportsWeeklyPod@gmail.com, and we may feature your email on the Listener Experience Zone, also known as the Les.
We have Run Club this Thursday and every Thursday, hosted at the 99ers Sports Bar at 6 p.m. Meet us at the bar. We will do a 3-mile loop, come back, and enjoy some drinks. In order to get 50% off your first draft, you can tell the bartenders this secret word, and the word this week is rocks.
Like what's in our front lawn right now? Lots of rocks.
The saga hopefully ends here, but if you've been listening, you have heard us talk about some house projects that we continuously do. We had a lawn up front. It died. We tried again. It died again. This year, we decided let's rip up the grass completely and try something new.
When we moved in, that's what was there. So we went back to the original. It looks better
necessarily, now. Yeah. It was looking a little rough back then. We planted a bunch of little starter plants over the weekend. It took us way longer than we thought it would, as per usual. But I would say, Car, I think we could be landscapers in our future.
I didn't mind the planning it out of what plant's going to go where should we put the big rocks, and then we put a bunch of small rocks around it. But the actual planting took so long. It was a full day's worth of work. And I guess this is just home buying, but I'm just not used to working so incredibly hard on the weekends.
I'm pretty happy with the turnout. So hoping the plants live and they grow over the next 3 years.
We also had a neighborhood block party this weekend, which was great to get to go to. And now I don't have to feel embarrassed about our front lawn when we're around our neighbors. So
and we tell everyone where we live. Now it's not just a pile of dirt in the front.
Or dead grass.
And then once again, we watched a lot of tennis this weekend. We do have a winner for the 2025 U.S. Open. And with that, let's get into the highlight reel for this week.
The U.S. Open finals happened this past weekend. For the women, it was number one in the world, Aryna Sabalenka, versus American Amanda Anisimova. Let's just set the scene a little bit here for what we were working with. Amanda Anisimova was in her second straight Grand Slam final. She beat Iga Swiatek in the quarterfinals, which actually avenged her straight set loss in Wimbledon because she played Iga at Wimbledon in the finals and got obliterated. And so she got to avenge that loss and beat her in the quarterfinals. And then Anisimova beat Naomi Osaka in what I would argue was the best match of the entire U.S. Open. It went into 3 sets. This was the semifinals, and 2 of the sets went into a tiebreak.
Very exciting. Shout out to Naomi Osaka too. She had a hell of a tournament. She came in ranked in the 20s. So she really played really well during this entire tournament. I would say she was the most positive out of anyone that I've seen play throughout the matches, just laughing things off, the way she's able to compose her body language. I was just super impressed by that because we always talk about how mental we would be if we played tennis, and some people do get very mental. It is cool to see when someone is so composed and having fun out there. And Naomi said something along the lines of she forgot how much fun she had playing tennis, and I just think that's really cool.
She did say this was the most fun U.S. Open she's had, and she's won the U.S. Open before.
Yeah.
So that puts some things into perspective. Aryna Sabalenka on the other side, number one in the world, like we said, she had not won a Grand Slam yet this year coming in. And actually, in all of the Grand Slams, all of her losses were versus Americans. So may have thought it was the American curse. But in the semifinals, she did take down Jess Pegula in 3 sets, which was a huge win to get to the finals. And then she came into this finals match. I have a couple things to say before we get into the finals. One is these commentators are so incredibly wild. Their boomer energy is at an 11 out of 10.
I would argue even more than that. They're living in their own glory days, wishing they were still out on the court, and listening to them speak about the current players on the court, it is very interesting. And I'm like, all right, you hung up your shoes how many years ago? Can we just be a little more positive?
And they're always a little unhinged, but what they were saying specifically during Anisimova and Naomi Osaka, both players were speaking to their coaches in the box. It's a new rule. You used to not be able to talk to your coach during the match. Players would get in trouble if they had signs with their coach or something like that, and then they just allowed you to talk to your coach. So both players were talking to their coach a lot during the entire match, and sometimes they get mad at their coaches because they're like, we talked about doing this, but it's not working, and they throw their hands up in the air. And the commentators were like, they need to stop talking to their coaches.
Yeah.
They need to just use their own mental fortitude and figure this out on their own. Back in my day, we couldn't even talk to our coaches. And it was just like, okay.
Things have changed, and that's okay.
Yeah. It's kind of like my rule, if the music's too loud, you're too old, which now I fall into that category. If anyone says the music is too loud, I'm like, well, no, it's not because the music's loud. It's actually because you're old. And to me, complaining about players talking to their coaches, I'm like, no, that's not the problem. The problem is that you're too old.
Yeah, you got a point.
I hate to be ageist, but they say things, they're like my parents. They say things that are so rude and they don't even realize that they're rude.
Yep.
All right, let's get into this a little bit more. In this finals, Aryna Sabalenka won the match in 2 sets. The first set was 6-3. She was in total control.
I would argue that she was the most locked in I've seen her, and the littlest inconveniences to her during that match, if she wasn't getting a point right away, the eye rolling and the just annoyance on her face, she was just like, I am here to win this. Let's just get this over with.
And she wasn't losing it. She was very locked in mentally. So we go into the second set and Amanda Anisimova begins to fight back. But like I said, Aryna was very locked into this match. The second set actually ends up going into a tiebreak. And so if Anisimova was able to win this tiebreak, it would have gone into a third set. But Aryna just overtook the tiebreak. Her power is incredible. They are actually very similar players in the amount of power that they have, but it was just working for Aryna Sabalenka.
Well, I think going into the tiebreak, the announcer said it was 20-1 in her tiebreaks. I don't know if that was this season, but whenever she's in a tiebreak, Aryna Sabalenka is very likely to win that tiebreak based on her past records with it. And she proved to be dominant in there.
That's not so good odds for Amanda Anisimova. Before we get into Anisimova some more, I do have a question for you. There used to be this question, and it's still around, but it was like a viral question. If you as a woman, if you were going to be alone in the woods, would you rather encounter a single male, like a human male, or a bear? And what people found, and much to men's surprise, many women chose a bear because single men in the forest are a lot more unpredictable than just a random wild bear. So I have a question. Would you prefer to face an angry Aryna Sabalenka or a bear in the wild?
Give me Aryna Sabalenka.
Okay. She is so intense, though. She does her lion scream. She reminds me of my sister a little bit, where you're like, I think I'm a little afraid of you.
I joke all the time that Aryna Sabalenka scares me, but I also admire her intensity and just how into it she is, because that's what you need. If you want to be a champion, you have to have that killer instinct, and she for sure has that. The US Open made a post after the win, and it was her in the eye of a tiger, and we've talked about this before, Aryna Sabalenka has the tiger tattoo. She's fierce, and you gotta love that about her.
Yes, and in comparison to the French Open loss, when she lost to Coco Gauff and kind of was like, Coco didn't beat me, I beat myself, and wasn't giving the proper kudos to Coco Gauff. In this post-game interview, she was so complimentary of Amanda Anisimova and said to her, you're going to get your Grand Slam final without a doubt.
And when she was saying that, I was like, that's so true. And the announcers were saying that throughout the match as well. Amanda is right there. At this point, it's just experience. Like, Aryna has won majors before, and we've talked about this before. It's one thing to get to a championship, and now Anisimova has lost 2 majors. Hers is going to come. Getting there is the hardest part, and you're on that stage. I think something she needs to work on is her body language and just getting her mental right. But she's one step away from being that next winner. So what Aryna was saying, I totally agreed with. And yeah, happy she was able to give that kudos as well.
She's a lot nicer after she's won.
Yes, for sure.
So she goes home with $5 million, Aryna Sabalenka, and Amanda Anisimova goes home with $2.5 million. That's a pretty good purse to head home with.
What do you think you would do or buy if you just won $5 million?
Ooh, it's got to be a house. We've talked about this before. It's always got to be real estate, right?
Yeah.
Or you know what? I'm getting all of Naomi Osaka's Labubus.
Oh my gosh. Of course.
What are you getting?
My initial thought was like, I want to invest it because you know me, whenever I get money, I'm like, okay, how much can we save of this?
Okay, what would be something stupid?
But if I were to buy something, I have plenty of houses I would want, but plenty of locations I would want to buy houses.
Definitely. But what about something stupid?
Oh, I don't know. You know, it takes me so long to buy things, and a stupid thing, like maybe a really nice car.
Ooh, what kind? You're so not a car gal.
I mean, I want either a 4Runner,
okay,
or a Tacoma.
Oh my gosh. Dream big, a Toyota.
You know me.
I love that so much. One day we're going to have a Toyota sponsorship, Danielle. I'm putting it into the air now where you can get your 4Runner or Toyota Tacoma.
I love that.
Okay, let's give some more kudos to Amanda Anisimova. She just had such a stellar year. We spoke about her comeback in episode 79 of Women's Sports Weekly, but she took off from tennis. And when she took off, she said, I don't know if I'm coming back. Like an undetermined amount of time is what she said in 2023. It resulted in an 8-month break from tennis for her. She comes back and she makes her way to 2 Grand Slam finals in 2025. It is just really astounding. And I think it goes to show that you can come back from anything and how important it is to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because if she did not do that, it could look very, very different. There's a high chance of injury when your stress level is really, really high. I know for myself, there's always been a thought of I can't take a break. I just have to keep moving. But like those breaks, that time away and being able to mentally reset are so incredibly important. And I think Amanda Anisimova is the poster child for that moving forward.
I 100% agree. I really hope for good things for her, and I'm excited to continue to watch her play. She is a fun player, and I hope we get to see her win her first Grand Slam.
Definitely. Also, we talked about this in episode 79, but when she made it to Wimbledon, one of the boomer commentators was like, well, now everyone's going to want to take an 8-month break. And I'm like, lady,
yeah,
pull it together.
Pull it together.
The girl needed it.
Yeah.
She needed a break, and now she's back better. That's the whole point of the break. Okay, I'll go all day. So let's move on to the next highlight.
Next, we will talk about the Women's Rugby World Cup. We got into some of the details last week of what the U.S. needed in order for them to move on to the next stage. It was a very big long shot. Unfortunately, they will not move forward.
And so many of you after last week's episode reached out to us with rules and explanations and number corrections, which we really, really appreciate. Yeah. So please always do that. And thank you for correcting us. Thank you for explaining the rules. We need that. We're new fans and we're so happy. So many of you are invested in rugby. It's really, really cool. The U.S. did beat Samoa this past weekend 60-0. They scored 10 times. Last week, we talked about Frida Tafuna. She scored 4 out of the 10 times. Pretty amazing. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, though. England beat Australia 47-7, which was not enough for the point differential needed for the U.S., and they do not make it out of the group play, Group A. England and Australia did advance out of the group play, which means in the quarterfinals next Saturday, New Zealand will play South Africa, Canada will play Australia, France will play Ireland, and England will play Scotland. Out of the teams remaining, who are you rooting for?
I feel like probably England at this point, or I'm half Irish, so maybe Ireland.
I was going to go with Ireland because of our Irish roots.
Yeah, that's what I got to go with. I was going to say England just because they're so dominant, but what fun is that? I got to go with the Irish.
Danielle and I both have a very similar genetic background. Yep. Both our moms are Italian and both our dads are Irish. It's very interesting. I don't know if that's why we're together, but we found each other.
Yes. All right. We will move on to the deep dive this week. We are going to dive into the WNBA playoffs and what we are looking at right now. So tomorrow, Thursday, 9/11, is the last day for the regular season games for the 2025 WNBA season. I cannot believe we are here already.
It's been a wild ride.
It has been. And at this time, 7 teams total have clinched a spot. And as a reminder, only 8 teams go to playoffs. So 7 teams have clinched, which means 1 spot is up for grabs.
And by the time this episode comes out, there might be 8, but we'll talk about that.
Yes. Currently, as we are recording, the 7 teams who have made playoffs are the Lynx, Dream, Aces, Mercury, Liberty, Valkyries, and the Fever. The Fever is the most recent team to make it this past Sunday after their win against the Mystics. Still fighting for the last spot, my Storm, my Seattle Storm, and the LA Sparks. Out of the running are the Mystics, Suns, Sky, and Wings.
Who knows? Our future selves may be so happy if the Storm beat the Valkyries and made it in.
Yeah. So a little more things to consider. The Minnesota Lynx have officially clinched the number 1 spot, which is exciting for them. Not only the number 1 spot, but they will have home court advantage throughout the entire playoffs. And they still remain on track to break records, continuing their pursuit of the single season wins record. They are also fighting for a chance to win a league record 5 WNBA championships. Right now, they are tied with 2 other teams for 4 in terms of franchise records for WNBA championships.
Who are the other 2 teams?
My Seattle Storm, which if they make it to playoffs, they still have a chance to also beat that record. Don't count them out yet.
Danielle. They're barely scraping by, even if...
Hey, you never know. The Aces went on a run after losing. You never know what could happen. And then the other team who holds 4 is the Houston Comets, who are no longer a franchise, but back in the day, they were a hell of a team.
And who knows, maybe they'll make a comeback in the coming years.
Yeah. So behind the Minnesota Lynx, the Las Vegas Aces and the Atlanta Dream are actually fighting for the number 2 spot. I would say that the Las Vegas Aces are arguably the hottest team in the league right now.
Do you mean physically or their ability? Or both?
That's a good question. I haven't thought about physically.
Did you like the video of them dressing like their type?
I loved it. I thought it was great. But what I mean is by their record. Obviously, they are at the time of recording on a 14-game winning streak. And if they won last night, that means they are on a 15-game winning streak.
Hottest team in the league might have to go to the Seattle Storm.
I know. I was thinking that because there are so many hot players on the team. But again, we're focusing on playoffs here.
Okay, sorry. Back to the task at hand.
So the Dream, like I said, are also fighting for the number 2 spot. So between the Aces and the Dream, the Aces do have the tiebreaker between the 2 teams. So once all games are said and done, we'll know who has the number 2 spot. It's not finalized now. And the Phoenix Mercury were in the running for the number 2 spot, but their most recent loss to the Sun put their number 2 dreams on hold for this year.
I'm even surprised the Mercury are so high in the standings. No one thought coming into this season that they were going to be as good as they are, except maybe them.
Yeah, with all the trades going on, I feel like so many teams have had so many shakeups. And look at the Liberty. We thought they would have been much higher. And they actually secured the 5th spot in the playoff rankings, which is really hard to believe. But again, injuries across the board just have been really making a lot of teams struggle.
Yeah, and the Liberty just are not hitting a stride right now. Who knows when playoffs come around? Teams will look different, maybe different motivations, but they're just not looking great.
They started off hot, but now's the time that you got to be playing well like a team like the Aces. We'll see what they can do here. Another team to call out, the Golden State Valkyries. This is the first expansion team in WNBA history to make the playoffs in their first year.
Throw your V's up.
I'm surprised you're not wearing your Valkyrie shirt. It is very cool. Do you think Natalie Nakase should win Coach of the Year?
3,000%. What she has been able to do with this team, the buy-in that she was able to get from the team members. I remember talking about the Valkyries at the beginning of the season when the draft happened. So I guess before the season, and we were like, what are they doing? They're not picking up any players. They have all of these international players, and the way that they have taken this team, a new fan base, and exploded is really, really amazing. To me, without a doubt, she is Coach of the Year.
It's hard to argue. There are a ton of other great coaches this year that are in the running, but it would be really cool to see her get it.
For sure. The culture that she's been able to create is just astonishing. Like, you have a team of really role players and they're winning games. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you have over 18,000 people coming to every single home game. The only thing that this is getting off of Coach Nakase, but I am a little bit upset because the arena they play in did not anticipate that they were going to be making it to playoffs. And so for some of their playoff games, they're not actually going to be playing at Valhalla, which is such bullshit and so annoying. And so this is just like classic women's sports of like, we have to accept this. And it just really drives me nuts a little bit because that atmosphere is their sixth player. The fans there are so incredibly important. And when you change locations, you make it more difficult for fans who know the process of how to get there to then go to a different place. But that's just my little thing that I'm going to complain about this week.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. That's pretty crazy. But to your point, unfortunately, not surprising. But you know, those fans they show up every game. They're going to make it work and they're going to be excited to show up wherever. But it just shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, like, yes, the fans will do it, but some of them won't be able to do it for whatever reason. And like, sometimes we just make watching women's sports so much more difficult than it needs to be. And then people are like, no one's watching. And it's like, well, you changed the location and it's playoffs. That's really annoying and inconvenient for everybody. Anyway, Coach Natalie Nakase for Coach of the Year.
Yeah. And then you have the Indiana Fever, who clinched over the weekend. And this is despite many injuries, including Caitlin Clark, who only played 13 games with them this season. But you have Chloe Bibby, left knee, Caitlin Clark, right groin, Sydney Colson, left ACL, Sophie Cunningham, right MCL, and Ari McDonald, broken foot. It's just brutal.
That's a tough hand for the Indiana Fever. The fact that they made it to the playoffs speaks really highly of the team.
Yeah, and their coach.
For sure. Their coach, Stephanie White, being able to take them this far is really incredible. And just to all the players who are injured, just hoping that they're all able to return. I am a little bit worried about Sydney Colson, who is getting a little bit older for WNBA standards. But whatever she decides, I hope she's able to take care of herself and make the decision herself. So tough one for the Indiana Fever.
It really does suck. But with that, let's talk about the two teams fighting for the last spot. Again, if you are listening right now, we could have an 8th team, but at the time of recording, it is between the Seattle Storm and the LA Sparks. If the Seattle Storm won last night against the Valkyries, that means they are in, and you can guarantee that I am very happy right now. If they lost to the Valkyries last night and the LA Sparks won their game last night, the Storm's fate is in really Las Vegas Aces' hands tomorrow night, 9/11, in the final game of the season. Because if the LA Sparks win that game, that means the LA Sparks are in. If the Aces beat the LA Sparks, that means the Storm is in. So if the Storm lost last night, you can bet that I will be cheering very hard for the Aces tomorrow night.
Okay, if the Storm beat the Valkyries, they are in.
Yes.
If for some reason they do not beat the Valkyries, the LA Sparks need to win the rest of their games.
So they also had to win last night.
Yes.
And then if they won last night, they also have to win tomorrow night.
And beat the Aces, which is going to be a tough thing to do.
But the Aces are on a 14, maybe 15 game winning streak at this point. Can you keep going?
You think their luck runs out with the LA Sparks? That would be rough.
That would be my luck if we're being honest. So I'm stressed right now. Maybe I won't be as stressed by the time this is released, but we shall see. A little bit about the playoff format. It is the top 8 teams that make the playoffs regardless of conference. The bracket is a standard bracket. You have the first round, which is going to be the best of 3 series. And then for the semifinals, you will have a best of 5 series. And then for the finals, this is the first year ever the WNBA is going to do a best of 7, which I am personally so excited about.
Last year's final between the Liberty and the Lynx went to 5 games. I think everyone wanted the opportunity to go to 7.
Especially the way that game ended.
This is going to be great. And I hope that this year it does at least go to 6 or 7.
That would be really awesome. Playoffs do begin September 14th, and the last possible date for the finals is October 17th. So we have a very exciting month ahead. Buckle up.
We've got a lot to look forward to, which, speaking of, Danielle, what are you looking forward to this week? What game? I think I have an idea.
Yeah. Well, as I said earlier, the regular season wraps up September 11th tomorrow. There are actually 4 WNBA games, but I'm personally looking forward to the Aces versus the LA Sparks game at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find that game on League Pass. And again, if the Storm lost last night, I will be cheering hard for the Aces. So please join me in that pursuit.
I'll join you.
Thanks. What are you looking forward to?
I'm going to take it over to the NWSL this weekend on Saturday, September 13th. Angel City take on the North Carolina Courage at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. I'm mentioning this game because I want to talk about Alyssa Thompson. She is the latest NWSL star to leave the NWSL and head over to the Women's Super League and go to Chelsea. This was a 5-year deal for $1.3 million for the transfer fee. I honestly think that's a little low for Alyssa Thompson to have a $1.3 million transfer fee, especially we're seeing players above the millions now. Naomi Girma obviously went for $1 million, and that was the highest at the time, but things have just been climbing since then. But I do think that Chelsea and the Women's Super League hate the NWSL because they're stealing all of our players. I am very happy for Alyssa Thompson, though. She's only 20 years old. She grew up in LA, never went to college, went and played pro in LA, so has been in LA her whole life. This is an opportunity for her to go abroad, play for an amazing team while also experiencing something she's never experienced before. And she will join U.S. Women's National Team players Kat Macario and Naomi Girma. The NWSL does have a problem, though. We are losing the NWSL. I'm saying we because we talk about the NWSL quite a bit. Our top talent to Europe. And rumor has it that Alyssa Thompson is getting paid a lot more to be there. Her salary has increased quite a bit. And the NWSL needs to do something to address that issue. I don't know what that looks like. I'm not on the business end of things, but this thing that's happening is not great for the NWSL.
No, because we're going to lose viewership if we have certain people who are fans of these players getting swept up and they're going to be watching the games over in Europe.
Well, and it's making me want to do it. We try to keep this podcast focused because we don't want it to get too big and then we're going to get spread too thin. But I'm like, should we start covering the Women's Super League? Maybe you could tell us in the comments if you want us to. We'll add another league to our list. But it's making me want to do that, which is the point. And from Alyssa Thompson's perspective now, not only does she have her American fans, she's going to go abroad and then get an entire European fan base and get even more sponsorships and even more deals and become more global. It's a no-brainer for her. But how do we make it so that the NWSL is the place to be?
Money.
Give me that money. I don't know what it is. But that's what I got for you. So I'm going to be watching that game. Alyssa Thompson is Angel City's best player. So to lose your best player and then try to figure out how to make it through in the NWSL, it's going to be rough for them. So that's what I'll have my eyes on.
That's it for this week. We will see you next week on Women's Sports Weekly. In the meantime, watch women's sports and share the podcast with your friends. Rate and subscribe to the pod on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.